One of the first videos I ever posted on this channel was my day-to-day life as a 35-year-old loser still living with my dad. Since I posted that video, a lot of things have changed in my life. It's only been about a year and a half since then, but at that time, I was fully living the NEAT lifestyle. I talked about how I would wake up every morning and just immediately start scrolling on my phone. Then I would just watch YouTube videos or play games all day. And I talked about my addictions to adult videos and the green smoking product that is not tobacco. So a lot of things have happened since then. The biggest thing is now I live with my mom instead of living with my dad. And we also have my baby cousin living with us. He's 1 year old now, and I help take care of him. For the most part, my life revolves around him now. So that's the biggest change in my life. The other big changes are now I have a job. I work at a car wash. I also have a girlfriend for the first time in my life. She also works at the car wash. That's where we met. But she's in grad school. Her uncle owns the car wash, so that's why she works there part-time. But yeah, let me walk you through a typical day in the life of a 36-year-old loser that still lives with his mom. Usually I'll wake up anywhere from 6:30 to 9 o'clock in the morning. Basically, I just wake up whenever the baby wakes up. Unless I have to work that day, in which case I'll probably wake up around 8 or 8:30 because I usually have to be at work at 9. Sometimes I don't work till noon, so usually on those days, I'll still wake up around 8 o'clock, but I'll spend some time working on stuff for this channel. I'll work on YouTube stuff for a few hours before I have to go to work. And that's when I do my best work, actually. That's when I feel like I'm the most mentally capable in the immediate few hours after first waking up. So that's usually when I work on coming up with video ideas, writing outlines, writing scripts. I will also occasionally record audio in the morning if my mom takes the baby on an early walk, because I can only record if I'm alone in the house, or sometimes after everyone else is asleep, I go sit in the car in the driveway to record. But, I try to keep this channel private from my family, even though my mom does know about it, but hopefully she doesn't actually watch any of these videos. I really don't know. If you are listening, watching, whatever, to this, Mom, please respect my privacy and turn it off right now. But yeah, so now that I have a girlfriend, the very first thing I do when I wake up in the morning, it's still the same as it was the last time I went over my day-to-day life. I still reach for my phone before I even get out of bed, but I'm doing it for a different reason. I don't end up scrolling on Reddit or anything like that. I just grab my phone and I check to see if my girlfriend has texted me, and if she did, then I reply. She sometimes texts me in the morning just to talk about whatever, random things, or she might send a text just saying good morning. I think I mentioned in another video recently that she has not been texting me much, and I was feeling like we just weren't communicating that much. We weren't talking as much as I expected a boyfriend and girlfriend should be talking to each other. Well, in the past few days, we have been texting a bit more, and we actually plan to meet up for an actual date soon, which will be our second date. I think we're going to be going out for dinner this time. So, it's a legit date. And I did text her about how I want to kiss more. I know it would be better to just make a move in the moment, but I'm not good at that. I've never been good at taking action in the moment. So I texted her to just kind of broach the subject, just to kind of feel out what she's thinking. Because ultimately, what I'm trying to figure out is, I want to figure out how far she's willing to go physically. I want to go all the way, obviously. She's already said that she wants to wait till marriage before doing that, but we've been dating now for almost 2 weeks, and we have kissed, I think, 6 times total. So that is a total of 6 kisses on the lips in that 2-week period. There was 2 different times when we kissed. The first time we kissed twice, and the second time we kissed 4 times. So that's 6 total. So I think she will probably be okay with at least making out. Hopefully she'll be down to do more than that. So I texted her, kind of trying to just figure out where she stands, what she's willing to do. So basically, she said that after our next date, or on our next date, we can make out. She didn't use the phrase make out. She didn't say that exactly, but I just told her that I want to kiss more. And she said, on our date, we can kiss a lot. That's what she said. We can kiss a lot. So I take that to mean we're going to be making out. I don't know. I'll probably make a video about that when it happens. So once something happens, I'll let y'all know what happened. Okay? But we still haven't worked out exactly what day we're going to be going out. So, I just wanted to mention that real quick. Just a quick update, because everybody always leaves comments on any video I post now being like, what's up with your girlfriend? What's happening with the Indian girl? So there's your quick update. I put it near the front of the video, right at the beginning. So there you go. If that's all you wanted to know, go ahead, click off now. You don't have to finish listening. But if you are interested in my day-to-day life as it is currently, then stick around, because that's what we're talking about right now. I pretty much have 2 different types of days. So I have work days and off days. So on a work day, I either work 9 to 5 or I work noon to 8, which is when we close. So that's the closing shift. I prefer the closing shift because that gives me some time to work on YouTube stuff before work. Maybe some of y'all have noticed, but I have been really on the grind lately since I started this car wash job. I've been on the YouTube grind, and it wasn't even like anything I intentionally planned. I think it's just because it's harder for me to find time to work on YouTube stuff now since I have this car wash job I have to go to. So I've just been aggressively filling every single moment of my free time with working on this channel. And I've been posting new videos pretty much every day. I think in the last month, I had only 2 days where I did not post a new video. And it is a lot of work. I don't know if I can keep this pace going for much longer. But yeah, if I'm working the earlier shift, if I'm working that 9 to 5 shift, I pretty much roll out of bed at 8:30 in the morning. Sometimes I'll wake up earlier, like 8. I usually will sleep in till about 8:30. And I just get dressed and I go straight to work. I don't take a shower before work because there's no reason to. I am going to get very dirty working at the car wash. So there's no reason to take a shower until I get home. I usually take a shower at night. But anyways, sometimes my girlfriend is there at work, but we don't talk at work at all. She does not want her uncle to find out that we're dating. It's whatever. I get it. So work is usually uneventful. I wash cars. I might get a little bit of social interaction, a little bit. If my coworker Jamal is there, then he usually wants to talk the entire time, which is kind of exhausting, honestly, but he's cool. He's probably the closest thing I have to an actual friend, so I don't mind talking to him. It's probably good for me to talk to someone like that. I do still feel like I'm masking around him, I guess you could say. I feel like I'm just kind of hiding my real self, and I'm just trying to act normal for the most part, which is pretty much how I act with anybody. But I do think if I had an actual friend, then I wouldn't have to do that. Like, that's how I would know that somebody is actually a real friend. If I could actually just be myself around them and I didn't feel like I have to pretend to be normal, that's how I would know that's an actual friend. But yeah, so work is usually pretty uneventful. And then after work, if I had worked the earlier shift, I get home around 5 or right after 5. It takes me, 10 minutes or something to drive home. The first thing I do is I go check on my cousin, the baby. Usually when I walk in, he hears the door and he knows it's me, just, I guess based on the timing, he knows what times I might come home. So he usually hears me come in the door and he'll just run up to me and give me a hug as soon as I come in. And I guess he's technically a toddler now, by the way. I know I still always just call him the baby on here when I'm talking about him, but it probably makes sense to call him a toddler now. He can run around. He climbs on everything. He's kind of starting to talk. He can definitely say some words, and he definitely understands a lot of words. But yeah, so after work, around 5 o'clock, I get home and I just play with him until dinner time. So we'll read books, or we might go outside and play or something like that. Whatever he wants to do. Then dinner time comes around and we'll eat together, me and the baby and my mom. And I guess that is a positive thing that has been pretty consistent in my life lately. I actually have meals with my mom and the baby regularly. We all eat together as a family. And I mean, the reason is it's just because mealtime with a baby is a lot of work. So it takes both me and my mom. I mean, either one of us could give him a meal successfully by ourselves, but it is easier to have both of us there to deal with him because he's still at that age where no matter what you give him to eat, like, he's just going to make an absolute mess with his food. We still have to watch him while he eats in case he chokes, He never has needed us to, pick him up and start slapping him on the back or anything, but, you got to be ready for that when you're dealing with a baby or even a toddler. You got to watch them while they eat. And lately, we've been letting him try out a fork. So it's not like a regular fork. It is a fork for babies, but it's still pointy and metal. And he's pretty good with it. He seems to understand how to use the fork, but he also sometimes just, while holding on to the fork, he just starts swinging his arms wildly. And I have to be ready to grab the fork out of his hand at any time because he actually might stab himself in the head. He seems like he might actually do that. So, that's dinner time. Dinner time is a lot of work, but it's nice. We eat together as a family. That's probably a good thing. So we usually have dinner around 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And then after dinner, I usually will give the baby a bath. especially if he was eating something like pasta with meat sauce, for example, something like that that's really messy. He pretty much has to have a bath after that before we can put him in bed. So I'll give him a bath, usually after dinner, which takes about 30 minutes because, it's not just cleaning him. He just likes to sit and play in the tub, splash water around, and he has some bath toys and all that. But, you can't just put a toddler in the bathtub. You have to watch them. Okay? So I'll give him a bath. Sometimes my mom gives him the bath instead, in which case I use that time instead to clean the kitchen. So that's still not free time. I have to clean the kitchen if I'm not doing the bath, because it's always a big mess after the baby eats. He throws food all over the place. There will be food on the wall, like the wall not even near where he was sitting when he was eating. And it's just like, how did this get here? It's sometimes seems to defy all physics, but it is what it is, If you've ever seen a baby eat, then it makes a big mess. So I have to sweep and mop the kitchen, wipe off all the counters, all the tables, put dishes in the dishwasher, take dishes out of the dishwasher if there's clean ones in it already. And yeah, it's a little bit of work, but pretty much at least once a day. Sometimes not only after dinner, sometimes after lunch or a breakfast, we have to clean the kitchen like that. So cleaning has become a much bigger part of my day. And I don't keep my own room clean at all, really. I should probably work on that, but I feel like I'm cleaning the kitchen all the time. Bedtime for the baby is usually around 9 p.m. That's an average. He falls asleep when he falls asleep. It could be as early as 8 p.m. I think the earliest he's fallen asleep for like his actual nighttime sleep is around maybe 7:30. Usually it's anywhere from 8:30 to 10:30 at night. So I think 9 o'clock is usually about average. So usually, if it's my turn to put him to bed, because me and my mom basically take turns on alternating days getting him to sleep. If it's my turn, what I do, I'll usually try reading books. He's really into this Mother Goose book lately. So I just start singing Baa Baa Black Sheep, and he will run to the other room to go get the book, and he'll bring the book to me. And we'll just sit down and I'll flip through all the pages and I'll sing all the nursery rhymes to him from the Mother Goose book. And once I can tell he's about to fall asleep, I'll pick him up and I'll just kind of walk around the nursery, just pacing back and forth until I can tell he's been asleep for at least like 10 minutes, because I want to make sure he's actually good and asleep. And then I'll finally lay him down very carefully in his bed, and I'll very quietly, very slowly exit the room, and I'll close the door. And it's not always that easy. It doesn't always, he doesn't always just let me read him books. Sometimes I end up having to chase him around, and we like wrestle and everything, play wrestling before he actually gets tired out. So bedtime can be rough. He also gets really irritable at that time, so he'll be biting me and stuff, which he's got some teeth and he can bite pretty good. And it sucks when he bites, but it is what it is. So that's bedtime, and at that point, after I get him to bed, it'll usually be anywhere from 9 to 10:30 at night. So at that time, I usually will work some more on YouTube stuff, and I'll text with my girlfriend if we have a conversation going. The past few days, we've been texting a lot, which is kind of cutting into my YouTube work time, although, talking to her is probably a better use of my time, especially if it does end up leading to me getting to squeeze those melons, because I do think about that a lot. But anyway, So I'll usually stay up till about 1 a.m., give or take, and I just work on stuff for this channel, which sometimes that just means I'll play San Andreas for a little bit, but usually I'll work on thumbnails or editing. I might go sit in the car in the driveway to record some voiceover. By the way, let me know how y'all feel about the San Andreas gameplay. Feel free to suggest other games you want to see me play, but do keep in mind, all I have access to right now is a Switch. Not the Switch 2, the Switch 1. That's all I have. I don't have any other consoles. I don't have a gaming PC right now. So I can play any game on the Nintendo Switch, or I can play retro games on an emulator on my laptop, like SNES or Sega Genesis games, basically, or Game Boy Advance, I guess. I can't even do, like, Nintendo 64, I can't do that on my computer, okay? So that's all I have access to. But yeah, if I work the later shift, where I get off at 8, the only difference is usually my mom and the baby will have already had dinner, or they'll just be finishing up when I get home. So I'll still do bath time, or I'll clean up the kitchen, and I will eat something if I can. Sometimes I just wait till the baby's in bed already before I get anything to eat. And another thing, this has only happened once so far, where me and the Indian girl were closing together. That's my girlfriend, by the way, if you don't know, the Indian girl. So when we closed together, after work, when we got off, we both sat in her car for about a half hour, and that's the time when we kissed 4 times. So that was nice, and I'm hoping that will become a regular thing anytime that we close together, although it's not really that often that we close together. But yeah, so whichever shift I work, it's pretty much the same thing after work. I take care of the baby until he's in bed, and then I'll just work on YouTube stuff and maybe text with my girlfriend until I fall asleep around 1 in the morning. So that's what a work day is like for me. On my off days, that usually means that my mom has to work. So I'm taking care of the baby all day until my mom gets home around 5:30 p.m. So usually around 11 or 12, but sometimes later, like as late as 2 or 3 in the afternoon, the baby will take a nap. So what I like to do is I'll hold him for the entire time he's napping, because that way he'll nap longer. He'll usually nap for 2 to 3 hours if I'm holding him. If I try to lay him down, he might only sleep for 30 minutes. He might sleep for a long nap if I lay him down, but he's way more likely to take a long nap if I hold him while he's napping. So I'll just sit in the rocking chair and I'll hold him. And while I'm holding him, I use that time to work on stuff for this channel using my phone. So I'll use the Notes app to write scripts, outlines, I'll brainstorm video ideas, I'll try to think of thumbnail concepts, and that's actually probably when I get the most work done, just because there's no distractions. You know, I guess I do have my smartphone connected to the internet, so technically there could easily be distractions, but, you know, it's like I'm sitting there in the rocking chair, I'm holding the baby, so I literally can't get out of the chair without waking him up. So I don't know, it just helps me focus. I feel like I'm kind of physically restrained, so what can I do but work, you know? So I just sit there and I write and I research and I work on the channel. I might also reply to some comments during that time, although that's something I might do at any time throughout the day, because it's pretty easy to just pull my phone out of my pocket. Even if I'm at the car wash, you know, I can check on comments and my YouTube Studio analytics or whatever, which I don't necessarily look at that much, but I do try to reply to comments from time to time. The other thing I like to do on my off days when my mom is at work and it's just me and the baby, I usually will try to go on a walk or a bike ride if I can. I prefer going on a bike ride. Sometimes it's just like too much to get set up, or maybe it's too hot outside, but I like to go on walks too. And that's pretty much the only exercise I get these days. I have a seat for the baby on my bike. So his seat is like, basically he sits in front of me, like between me and the handlebars, and he's facing forward, like he faces the same direction I am. And the seat was about $300, by the way. And I bought it before I started the car wash job. So that was one thing that I used purely my YouTube AdSense revenue to buy that. So I just want to say thank you to all of you that keep watching my videos. There is a baby that gets to go on bike rides now, and that is because of your support. So seriously, thank you for that. When we go on bike rides, we do it safely, by the way. I have lights on my bike, and I wear a helmet. The baby wears a helmet. I keep him strapped in. I put sunscreen on him if he needs it. And we don't go on any busy roads or anything like that. We ride around the neighborhood, and he does enjoy it. He really likes riding the bike. A lot of times when we first get going, he'll be like thrusting forward in his seat because he wants to go faster. So he definitely enjoys it. And he likes to point out birds and airplanes and things like that that he sees while we're riding. So yeah, that's something I try to do as much as I can because it's good exercise for me. I think it's a lot of fun for him. So I try to go on a bike ride any day that I can, or I might just take him on a walk in his stroller. Basically, unless it's raining, that's the only time that I would not do a bike ride or a walk. I'm either doing one or the other every single off day. And part of it, when you're just taking care of a baby or a toddler now, I guess, all day, you're taking care of a baby all day, it's boring. It's really boring. There are definitely moments that are rewarding, I guess. And I do have fun playing with him. I do enjoy spending time with him, but it's like when I'm on my third consecutive reading of this Curious George book, just 3 times in a row reading the same book because that's what he wants me to do, it's really boring. And there's no break. I mean, I probably could sit him in front of the TV and just turn on CoComelon or something, but I don't do that. I don't let him watch any kind of videos at all. In fact, I even have to stop my mom sometimes because she'll be trying to show him whatever slop Facebook reels she's watching, just like absolute slop that old women like to watch on Facebook. That crap might as well be CoComelon. It's CoComelon for the elderly. But yeah, when it's just me and the baby here, there's no breaks except when he's napping. But I have to use that time to work on YouTube stuff. So I don't get any break at all until my mom gets home. And then she'll usually watch him until dinner time. So I'll get like 1 to 2 hours of free time after my mom gets home. And sometimes I use that time also to work on YouTube stuff, which might just be me playing San Andreas and recording gameplay footage, which, that's something that's fun for me, so it's not exactly work. But I do sometimes just relax during that time because that's the only time I have where I might actually have a real break where I can just relax and I can just browse the internet or whatever else I want to do. The other day, I literally just sat there in my chair for an hour, just not doing anything. I think I was kind of thinking, but I really just sat there with my eyes open, not really doing anything at all. And honestly, that was pretty nice. I might try to do that again sometime if I feel like I have the time, because it actually was a pretty enjoyable experience. And I don't get that very often. Again, this is me talking about my off days. Okay, these are on my off days. I don't have any free time. And I guess, I shouldn't complain. There's a lot of people that have it a lot worse. And I certainly do feel like, as difficult as it is at times, I am glad that my baby cousin was born. And I'm glad that he's with me and my mom instead of being with his mother, who is also my cousin. He's definitely better off with us. And I'm glad he's a part of my life. So just wanted to say that. I'm not trying to complain about his existence. If anything, I think it's been good for me having him around. It gives my life a lot more structure. And, I'm not saying if you're like chronically forever alone guy living the neat lifestyle right now, I'm not telling you that you should try to go adopt a child to fix your life. That's a bad idea. I'm just talking about my own personal experience, and in my life, I think that it's good to have the baby around, or it's been good for me personally, but it's obviously not a choice that I would have made. But, just wanted to say that. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining about him. I did want to mention also, pretty much any time throughout the day, even if I'm at the car wash, I might be listening to YouTube videos on my headphones. I have these waterproof headphones. It's the kind that doesn't go inside your ear. I think they call it bone conduction, so it kind of wraps around your ear. But yeah, so I use those. I pretty much am wearing them all the time. And I listen to mostly other BP YouTubers. But also, sometimes I'll just listen to random videos that pop up that I find interesting. So that does help me stay sane throughout the day, because it's like, whether I'm at work or I'm off work and I'm watching the baby, it's like, I know I keep saying this, but I hardly have any free time. So I listen to YouTube videos throughout the day. Sometimes I'll listen to music, but usually I listen to videos. And that does help me stay entertained. It gives me at least a little bit of entertainment to keep me going. I do try to limit it, how much I'm listening to videos on my headphones. I do try to limit it, especially when I'm with the baby, because, when I'm with him, I try to just be with him and pay attention to him whenever I'm watching him. I don't want him to see that I'm always being distracted listening to something else when I'm supposed to be playing with him. I want to be present in the moment with him. So I do limit my consumption, but I do try to listen to stuff when I can, just to give me some form of entertainment. So that is a part of my day. So I got to mention that. And another thing I want to talk about is my dad. When I first started this channel, I lived with my dad, and now that I live with my mom, I don't really talk about my dad that much. Sometimes I get comments asking about him, so I just wanted to mention real quick, he's good. We have a good relationship. We still talk pretty often. He's happy that I have a job now. He's happy that I have a girlfriend. I should probably try to go see him more often. He lives pretty close, but it's just hard to find the time to get out there. And he doesn't come over here at all. He's not going to come over to my mom's house for any reason. So if I want to see him, I have to go over to his house. Usually when I do visit him, it's because every few weeks or so, he'll invite me over for dinner. So I do see my dad probably once a month on average, maybe a little bit more often than that. But yeah, he's doing fine. He's in pretty good shape for being nearly 70 years old and being a chronic chain-smoking alcoholic. He's in pretty good shape. His health is pretty good as far as I can tell. So that's good. Everything seems to be going well for him. But yeah, it's just kind of hard for me to find the time to go over there and see him. And another thing I did want to mention, so I guess it was a pretty big part of my original day-to-day life as a 35-year-old loser video, where I talked about I struggle with addictions. I have a bad habit of watching videos that are made for an adult audience. And I have another bad habit where I would consume the green substance that is not tobacco. I would consume that. Sometimes I would just go on multiple days long binges where I was just consuming that substance all day, every day. And yeah, so my update on both of those fronts is I don't do those things very often anymore. I do still, I look at the content that is made for adults. Sometimes I look at that stuff. Okay, I'm not 100% off it. I do it a lot less now, mostly just because I'm busy all the time. I'm taking care of a baby, so I don't really have time to do that. The only time I do that now is like if I'm taking a shower. And yes, I do. I take my phone into the shower. I just make sure it doesn't get that wet. So yes, I do that sometimes. As far as the green colored substance, I really don't use it that much. The only times recently that I've used it was actually at work at the car wash when my coworker Jamal has offered it to me, which has happened a few times. And usually when he offers, I will partake. But ever since the baby's been living with us, I have never had my own stash, never kept any at the house. So I'm just really not consuming it that often. So that's good, I would say. I think there are people that, they use that stuff and it's fine. It's not always a problem with everybody that's using it if you're able to do so responsibly. In my case, I'm not a very responsible person when I use the stuff, so it's best for me to just not keep it around. And that's another thing that I think is good, having my baby cousin around, is just that kind of makes it so it's like, I pretty much feel like, well, I can't be using that stuff. I can't keep that stuff around. I got to stay in my sober state of mind to make sure I'm taking good care of him. So, yeah, I mean, that's ultimately, I think it's a good thing. I would say overall, yes, my life is just better now than it was when I made that video. I'm still a loser, I guess, but I have a girlfriend. It's not even been 2 weeks at this point we've been dating, so, is it gonna last? Am I even gonna ever get to, like, touch her body in, like, how I want to? You know what I mean? I don't even know if anything's gonna happen between us before she realizes how big a loser I am, because I do think she doesn't really know. If she knew the truth of the past several years of my life, there's no way that we would be in a relationship right now. And I do think probably eventually, sooner rather than later, she'll probably figure it out, and then I'm going to be dumped. But I don't know. I don't know where it's all going to go. But I will say for now, yeah, my life is better now. And mostly I think it is because of my cousin, my baby cousin, being a part of my life. And again, I do not recommend that. I don't even recommend anyone listening to this. I don't even recommend you adopt a dog to take care of. okay? Like I'm not saying it's going to fix your life to have a baby or have something to take care of, because another part of this, I'm not doing this on my own. My mom is really the primary caretaker. I would say, yes, I do share in the duties at least 50%, but, I love the little guy. In my life, personally, I think it's just been a big improvement since he's been around. Not necessarily just because he's been around, but I think it is at least partially that. So that's where I stand currently. My day-to-day life, it's not glamorous, but it could be a lot worse. It used to be worse. The only thing that sucks now is I don't have enough free time. I wish I had more. But another thing is if I quit working at the car wash, that's also not really going to give me more free time. I'll just have to watch the baby more, is what will happen, because that's how it was before I started working at the car wash. My amount of total free time didn't change that much. But yeah, that's the video. Like the video, subscribe if that's what you want to do, and thank you for watching.